Hello, my name is Angela. I just had my life turned upside down entirely in the last few months. It took one of the biggest tragedies of my life for me to finally be able to live a nice life now. I didn't think that this story would be interesting, but my friend Rosa insisted that I post it, so here I go. Let me begin by telling you a little about myself. I'm 17 years old and my family consists of my mom, Sheila, and my stepdad, Nicholas. My mom married Nicholas when I was 9 years old, and he has been a father figure in my life ever since. Before that, my mom was a single mother. You see, my mother had been somewhat of a problem child in her family. She was a big baby, essentially, and her family absolutely enabled this behavior for her entire life. That was until she turned 18. They asked her to move out multiple times, but she refused, so they let her stay on the condition that she start paying rent, something she never did because she could never hold a job down. On top of that, Mom also dropped out of college midway. This apparently infuriated my grandparents, but they still let her stay with them because she was their daughter. The final straw for them was when my mom got pregnant by some man she didn't even know. That guy was supposed to be a fling, but Mom ended up getting knocked up, and that guy wanted nothing to do with Mom or me. My grandparents were tired of my mom being irresponsible and of covering for her. They kicked her out and she was left to fend for herself. She managed to find shelter in a women's home, and that was where she gave birth to me and raised me for the first few years of my life. The only reason I know so much is because as I was growing up, my mom would constantly complain about how crappy my grandparents were to me, thinking that I wouldn't remember what she said, but clearly I did because they did have some impact on me. Anyway, Mom happened to meet my stepdad Nicholas at the diner that she was working at. The two of them felt a connection immediately. They dated for 2 years and eventually Mom and I moved in with Dad. Dad and I developed a very close bond. He was truly my favorite person. One thing about Dad was that he was rich, so he absolutely spoiled me senselessly. Aside from the material gifts, Dad also spoiled me with love and affection. He made sure that I enjoyed my childhood to the fullest and that I knew that I was loved, something that my mom didn't really care to do. When I was 15, Dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The doctors discovered it just in time to start treatments, so Dad spent a good portion of the next 2 years getting chemotherapy and radiation, but his cancer only got worse. My entire world was crumbling in front of me, and every time I tried to find solace in Mom, she would scoff at me and leave me alone. I always thought that it was my mom's way of coping with her grief, but I know better now. Anyways, eventually, we were told that Dad had less than 2 weeks to live. I practically stayed at the hospital with him. Mom was barely around. I didn't bat an eye at that, though. Whenever Dad was awake, he'd tell me that he loved me. Finally, one day, when Mom was in the room with us, Dad told her that he loved her too after telling me the same before passing away. I was beyond devastated. I was an absolute mess. I couldn't breathe. I didn't let anyone in for the next few days because I wanted to be alone. We had a quiet funeral for Dad because he asked not to have anyone else there. I spent the next 3 days after his funeral holed up in my room. When I finally walked out of my room, I was greeted by the sight of balloons and streamers in the living room and my mom decorating the room. "What are you doing? What do you think I'm doing? Why are there balloons and streamers everywhere? Are you throwing a party?" "Duh. Today is a happy day." "What are you talking about? Are you seriously throwing a party just 3 days after Dad died?" "Oh, please, he wasn't your real dad. You don't have to be so sentimental about it." "What are you talking about? Of course he was my real dad. He was the only father figure I had in my life." "Oh, save me the sob story." "It's not a sob story. Are you really not sad that Dad passed away? God, no. I only married him because I needed the money. You can't be serious. I am. I mean, you would have seen how I absolutely didn't love him if you just stopped idolizing the man. But he loved you. Ugh, he was so boring. The only interesting thing about him was his money, and now it's all mine. You are a cruel, cruel woman. No, I am not the one that's cruel. Your stupid stepdad was the cruel one. Do you even know how many times I wanted to send you off to some school on another continent altogether? What? Yeah, the only reason I even kept you here with me is because Nicholas threatened to divorce me. And if he divorced me, then all the years I spent trying to get him and his money would have gone to waste. Why did you want to send me away? What did I ever do to you? What did you do to me? I'll tell you what you did. You ruined my life. I have no family because I had to give birth to you. I had to struggle on the streets because I had an extra mouth to feed. How is that my fault? I don't care. But this party is happening for two reasons. The first is that your father finally passed away and left me with all the money. And the second is that you're leaving this house. Excuse me? What are you talking about? I'm not going anywhere. Oh, yes, you are. I'm giving you 3 hours to get your things packed and to move out. My friends will be arriving by then. Get a move already. I tried to say something more, but my brain wouldn't cooperate with my mouth. I ended up just numbly going back to my room. I sat at the edge of my bed for a while and just stared at the wall because I didn't know if my mom was being serious about kicking me out or not. She was. She walked by my room and saw me sitting on my bed and told me that I was wasting my time packing. After she left, I finally broke down. I didn't know what to do or where to go. I was beginning to panic, so I called my best friend, Rosa. Hey, Angie, what's up? I need your help. Whoa, what's going on? Is everything all right? No, I need you to come over and help me pack my things up. Pack your things up? What are you talking about? You know how I told you that I needed some space the past few days? Yeah. Well, my dad passed away. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for your loss. Are you holding up all right? Not really. I'm a mess, but I have to get out of here. You have to? What do you mean? Shouldn't you be there with your mom? That's the thing. Mom's throwing a party for all her girlfriends. A party? Why in the world is your mom throwing a party just a few days ago? Yeah, that's what I asked her, and she told me that she had only been with Dad for his money. She also apparently wanted me to get out of her life as well, but couldn't do that because Dad stopped her from doing it. My God! I mean no offense, but your mom is a horrible person. I see why you want to leave. That's the thing. I don't want to leave. My mom asked me to leave in the next 3 hours. What? How could your mom ask you to leave the house that is yours? I don't know. I don't even want to know what will happen if I stay here. Angie, I don't want you to stay there either. I'm coming over and we're packing your things together. Thank you. I just need to figure out where I'm going to go from here. You're coming to my place, silly. My mom loves you. You know that. She'd be more than ready to shelter and feed you. I don't want to impose. I'm going to cut you off right there. You'll never impose on us. Let's figure out the details after you come here, okay? I'll be there in 15. Thank you so much, Rosa. Of course. What are friends for? Rosa came over in 15 minutes, as she had told me. My mom had gone out of the house to do God knows what, which was a good thing because Mom really did not like Rosa. I'm not sure how she would have reacted if she saw Rosa at home, so I was glad she wasn't there. Rosa and I didn't talk much. She quietly helped me pack all my things, something that I was grateful for because I really wasn't in the mood to talk. I felt raw and numb on the inside. My head was swimming with all kinds of thoughts, and my heart was a mess of emotions. I had managed to lose my dad and my mom in the span of a few days. Of course, one was more devastating than the other, but still, it didn't feel good to have my only remaining parent tell me that they didn't want me anymore. Rosa and I loaded up her car with all my things, and we quietly drove to her place. We were greeted at the door by Rosa's mother, who always treated me like I was her own child. She always had room for me in her home. She too was a single mother, so she sympathized with me a little better, even though I had a stepdad. And she understood the struggle that Mom and I had to go through before. Rosa and her mom were my extended family, and so I gratefully accepted the tight, long hug from Rosa's mom when she saw me. She told me to make myself comfortable in her home because her home was mine too. She told me that she would be there for me no matter what happened, and those words really meant a lot to me. It felt good knowing that even if my real mother never cared for me, there was someone to look after me and give me the motherly love and care that my mom couldn't give me. Rosa's mom let us go to the guest bedroom where I would be staying so I could start unpacking. As soon as I started unpacking, I found myself breaking down and sobbing. I sat on the bed and just cried for a long while. Rosa held me and stroked my back until I eventually calmed down after 15 minutes. When she saw me stop crying, she asked me if I felt any better. Do you feel any better after crying? Kind of. Thank you so much for helping me out, Rosa. I really don't know what I would have done without you. That's the best part. You'd never be without me. We've known each other almost our entire lives. You're my sister at this point. That is true. I do owe you big time, though. Nonsense. Although, if there was one way you could repay me, it is by promising me that you'll find a way to get back at your mother, be it now or sometime in the future. But you have to do it. Oh, I promise you that I will do that. You have no idea how angry I am with her. I can't believe that she's such a horrible human being. Me neither. I mean, okay, I knew that she didn't like me, and I didn't like her very much either, but I never expected her to stoop so low. Yeah, I guess the more I look back at things, the more things start making sense. What do you mean? I mean, there was absolutely no reason for her to be so aloof about my life. Dad knew more about what was happening with me than her. Clearly, she just didn't want me there. But I just thought that she was distant because of all that she had to go through. I don't mean to intrude or make you feel like you aren't welcome here. But do you have any other family that you could reach out to regarding your mother? I mean, I know your mom's side isn't going to be of any help, but what about Nicholas's side? I actually don't know anyone on his side of the family. What? How come? Does he not have a family? He does. It's just that apparently his family cut him off. Why? I'm sorry, but he was quite literally the nicest man on this planet. Why in the world would his family want to cut him off? Well, they didn't like my mother. I can see why. Yeah, they always thought that she was only with him for his money, and they never shied from telling that to them in their face. My dad was naive and didn't want to believe a word they said, and my mom, well, she was not going to let his family influence him, so she made him stop talking to them. Whoa. Did your mom tell you all this? No. I'm just piecing together what must have happened after seeing how my mom really is as a person. They told me things in a very watered-down manner because, you know, I was a child, but things are beginning to add up. Okay, but just because Nicholas cut off contact with his family, they shouldn't have stopped talking to him, or at least trying to. Dad told me that they didn't. They kept trying to talk to him, but Mom would get angry whenever she found out that he was talking to them. The final nail in the coffin was when they found out that Dad had married Mom. They didn't want to have anything to do with him after that. I have to say, that's a little cruel. Yeah, I agree. Do you think you could reach out to his family? Maybe they'd want to know about what your mom's doing. I don't know anything about them, so I don't even know where to begin with trying to contact them. Not to mention, what do you say to someone who was right about my mom being a gold digger? I don't think they'd want to help me out, especially since not only am I her daughter, but also because I'm not related to them in any way now. Yeah, you're right. All right, whatever it is, we'll get through this. We'll figure out a way to get back at your mom at some point. But for now, I want you to know that you're more than welcome to stay with us for however long you like. Mi casa es su casa, you know? Again, thanks a lot. Maybe we could look at this as being our longest sleepover ever. I love that thought. Talking to Rosa made me feel a lot lighter. The heartbreak and hurt didn't go away, but it felt lighter because I had someone to share my feelings with. Rosa told her mom about my sleepover comment, and her mom took it seriously. She took us to the store where she'd purchased all the food we wanted so we could watch movies of our choice and just binge away our sadness. Rosa's mom even let us take the next day off so we could stay up all night and talk. She knew how much talking would help me deal with things, and she was as supportive as she could possibly have been. I was so grateful for her, really. She is an amazing woman. Anyways, Rosa and I talked a lot about my dad and his family, and my mom and her audacity. We concocted potential plans of revenge to take on my mom. All of them were very far-fetched, but we had fun in just making the plans. I began to feel better around the second day of my stay with Rosa and her mom. Of course, that changed when after school the next day, Mom called me. I contemplated not picking up the phone, but eventually gave in and picked it up. What do you want? I took out all my things. Angela, are you safe? I don't see why you're suddenly showing me care. What are you talking about? I'm your mother. I care for you. That is not what you said before you kicked me out and threw a party to celebrate Dad's death. How could you say such horrible things about your mother, and right after I suffered such a terrible loss? What are you even talking about? Are you crying? Of course I'm crying. I just lost my husband and my daughter ran away from home. Are you being threatened or something? Why are you spewing lies? Is someone there next to you? Your grandma is here to see you. My grandma? Yeah, your stepdad's mother. Whoa, why is she there? She wants to meet you. You need to come here immediately. I don't see why I need to get there immediately. Why don't you entertain her for a little while? Clearly you're acting in front of her and you have something to prove to her. Don't be smart with me right now. Come home right this instant. I'm a little busy right now, but I'll be there in an hour. If you don't come here within the next 15 minutes, I'm calling the police and having them escort you back home. Don't think that I don't know that you're staying with that no-good friend of yours. Rosa is a great friend to me, and even if she was no good, she's still a million times better than you. Please don't be so difficult. Your grandmother is waiting for you. Just come home, sweetie, please. For how my grandmother is bringing out this fear in you, I just might come home immediately. She's getting impatient, so you need to hurry up. Fine, I'll be there soon. I was beyond curious about what Dad's mom was like. She must have some sort of influence or intimidation at the very least, because that was the nicest that my mom had ever been to me. I told Rose about my dad's mom coming to visit, and she too was shocked at her arrival. Rosa told me that she dropped me off because she had a car, and I really didn't want to be alone with my thoughts on the walk to my house. During our short drive there, Rosa and I couldn't help but talk about how weird it was that my dad's family showed up just 2 days after we discussed contacting them. We joked around that the cosmos must have heard us and sent Dad's mom a message to visit me and help. While it was nice to joke, I was still beyond nervous to meet my grandmother. Rosa wished me the best of luck when we reached my place. When I entered the house, my mom was sitting with an older lady who was my grandmother. She looked nothing like what I pictured her to look like. She looked kinder and just like Dad, which broke my heart and comforted me at the same time. My mom came over to me to give me a hug when I walked into the house. "Oh, there's my angel. Harriet, this is my daughter Angela." Hello. My God, Nicholas was right. You are a pretty girl. Oh, thanks. Although Dad did love to flatter me when I was growing up, even when I looked like I was dragged through a field while I was sick, he'd tell me that I was a pretty girl. Well, she can thank her mother for those looks. I'd say that the gratefulness she has for you should only go as far as that. Oh, okay, but what do you mean? What I mean is, I know all about what you've been doing, Sheila. What are you talking about? Before I tell you about that, I do want to extend my condolences to you. Angela, I'm sorry that I never got to meet you before, but I know that you were very loved by my son. I'm sorry it took me so long to come here and meet you, but I had some things to take care of. You have nothing to be sorry for. I mean, you must have been an amazing mother because Dad always spoke so nicely of you and always told me that you were an inspiration to him. I know that you've been hurting as well, so there's no need to apologize. You know, I wish more than anything that I hadn't cut off contact with my son for so long. I'm just grateful that he came to his senses towards the end of his life and reached out to his family. What do you mean? He had us help him write his will, and he's left everything to you, Angela, even his house. However, you'll only get it when you turn 18, so until then, I'll be in charge of your inheritance. What? What do you mean? Why am I not in charge of her inheritance? Because he did not trust you. How could he not trust me? I was his wife. Are you really asking me that question, Sheila? Yes, I want to know, why did he not leave me anything, and why did he leave it to my stupid daughter here? First of all, I will not tolerate you calling your daughter stupid in front of me. Secondly, Nicholas found out about your affairs and your stealing. Affairs? Stealing? What are you talking about? Mom, what is she saying? I have no idea, sweetie. You have no idea. Don't lie. Nicholas noticed a long time ago how a lot of his money began to go missing. All it took was one look into your cupboard to find all the money you stole, except that wasn't all the money. A huge portion of it was missing. So he downloaded an app on your phone that allowed him to track where you were and see what you were doing on it. That's when he found out that you were cheating on him with multiple men. And you were using his money to pay for hotels and dates. Mom? How could you? I've been arranging to have your mother arrested these past few days, and the police should be here soon. I can't get arrested. Please, I'm sorry. You made my son's life miserable. He only stayed because he knew that you would not treat Angela well, and he loved her like she was his daughter. He told me to make sure that you paid for what you did to him and what he was sure you would do to Angela after he was gone. And as his mother, I'm making sure it happens. Right then, the police arrived and parked in front of our house. They walked up to us, and Harriet, who insisted I call her Nana, greeted them and told them who Sheila was. They took her to the station, and Mom was sobbing. She kept trying to negotiate with Nana, but Nana was having none of it. I was still reeling from everything that I just found out. Nana took me into the house and let me process everything. I couldn't believe that my mom would have the audacity to cheat on my angel of a dad, even though I was a little girl. I always noticed how much he had done for her. He always went above and beyond to make her happy, and that never stopped until his dying breath. I mean, even his last words to her were, "I love you." The nerve of Mom to cheat on him. Nana also told me that Mom continued to cheat on Dad while he was at the hospital getting his treatment. I already knew that my mother was a terrible person, but every time that I thought that she couldn't have done something worse than she had already done, she proved me wrong. I just sat and sobbed for a very long time after Mom got taken away. Nana held me in her arms and even cried a little. She apologized over and over again for taking so long to get to me and for letting me be homeless for the last 2 days. I told her all about my friend Rosa, and Nana promised me that we'd go over later on and thank them personally. Once I'd calmed down, Nana took me to meet Rosa again, and I told her everything that I had found out, and she was just as shocked and disgusted as I was. She did cry out of happiness for me, though, because I was finally going to have a family to rely on, and that my mom got what she deserved. After that, things started to look up for me. Nana asked me if I wanted to move back to where she lived or if I wanted to continue living in my home. I wanted to be in my home because that's where all my memories of Dad lived. Nana was understanding of that and had the family nanny live with me as a guardian. Nana couldn't live with me because she had to work with Grandpa, but they were loaded enough to have a family nanny. So I was more than taken care of at home, and the nanny and I quickly became good friends. Nana busied herself with the legal aspects of Mom's trial. Nana hired the best lawyer to represent her. Dad had apparently compiled all the evidence of Mom's affair and theft and sent them to Nana immediately. The trial wasn't very long because of the huge amounts of evidence against Mom. In the end, Mom was found guilty of theft and was ordered to repay everything that she had stolen, along with a fine, and she was sentenced to 2 months in jail. According to Nana, Mom was a mess during the entire trial. At the end of it, after she got her sentence, she broke down in sobs and kept yelling profanities at Nana and at my dad for ruining her life. That only made my blood boil more, and I was beyond happy that Mom was finally facing the consequences of her actions. I did want to know more about Dad after that, though, and Nana was more than ready to answer any and all questions I had. Of course, the first question I asked her was why she did not talk to Dad for so long. Nana pretty much confirmed what I had thought had happened. My mom was the one who got Dad to stop talking to them, and they tried for months to get him to come to his senses. Eventually, they cut him off because they'd hoped that by cutting off his wealth, Mom would leave him. But Dad had already made enough success for himself, so he was rich on his own. Dad only got back in contact with Nana and Grandpa when he got diagnosed with cancer. They apparently never rehashed the past initially and only did it when Dad began to get suspicious of Mom. He confided in them and they helped him catch her. He learned to be as discreet as possible, and his only concern was me during the entire time. He wanted to make sure that I wouldn't suffer for my mom's actions. Nana and Grandpa learned a lot about me then and wanted to meet me, but Dad didn't want that to happen in case Mom caught wind of Dad's plan. I will admit I cried a lot when Nana told me everything. It felt great to know just how much Dad loved me. And now my only mission is to live a life that he would be proud of. I may have lost my mom and dad, but I still gained a new family, and I couldn't be more grateful.